Welcome. All right. Thank you for joining, everybody. Short notice that I haven't even put on Twitter, so let me do that really quick. Give some people time to synchronize with all the different. Well, I only have 2 streams I'm doing simultaneously right now. Yeah, high tech here, folks. Super technology here. Hang on really quick. I just want to put this on the Twitter sphere. No notice tonight. I really, when I get an intuition and then I get a thumbs up that it's a good direction to go in with the material, I try to get to it as soon as I can, especially when I have the idea fresh in my mind and I've actually gone through some of the more deeper aspects of the issue. So I want to kind of get this out because I really don't want to be talking about this very frequently, if at all. Hang on. I'll be right there, folks. All right. Let me get back to my stream. Hi, Grizzly Adams there. Hi, everybody. All right, thank you for joining. So the at the root of the discussion tonight is that look, I had some assurances going back. You need hold music. You're right, guys. I should have done better. Welcome back. Your dreams were your ticket out. Welcome back to that same old place that you laughed about. And I always get these lyrics backwards. Well, your friends have all changed since you've hung around, but your dreams have remained since you turned around. Who'd have thought they'd lead you? Who'd have thought they'd lead you? Yeah, where we need you. Yeah, where we need you. Yeah, we tease him a lot because we got him on the spot. Welcome back. 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 All right, that's done. All right. We need to get serious, though. Tonight's about kind of like the way I've always talked about, that I really want to talk about that there's generally between me and people in general is a global peace treaty. So let me get more specific about what a global peace treaty, I think, is a little bit too broad way to discuss it. Here's where the information aspect of what goes on relative to the trafficking economies is where everything gets really troubling as far as trying to communicate it to folks and trying not to step on the wrong toes when you're revealing certain things. Because look, guys, the reality is when it comes to certain parts of these IT routes that I reveal, quite a few decent people use them. They're not bad people. They're just ones that, like most people, they found an exploit. They found a way to route something to save some cash, to make a little extra. They weren't bad. They weren't criminal necessarily, but they went into a gray area perhaps. And so those people obviously are way freaking nervous because sometimes the material that I delve into crosses over into what those people are doing. And so the best thing that I can do is to assure those people that to the best of my knowledge and to the all assurances that I've gotten is that none of these people are really after you that are researching this, and nobody that's helping me are going after people like you. And so effectively what I've tried to tell people since I started doing any kind of research is, generally speaking, as long as your activities do not cross over into human trafficking and child exploitation and child pornography, then you're not going to ever probably get any, amount of, look, you shouldn't feel threatened by anything that I do, because even if I'm revealing something informationally that crosses into something that affects you, you're not going to be affected by any of the types of people that are going after what's happening. See, it's a little bit like going after everybody who uses the dollar just because they're using, criminals use the dollar. It'd be like going after every single person who uses Bitcoin because some criminals use Bitcoin. You really can't use that approach to any of these things. And so I'm just asking you guys to be realistic within your own universe and to know that there's only so many resources. And even if these people had a hard on for coming after you, they don't have the time or the energy, quite frankly. They have all the information to do it, though. So just stop worrying about that part, because they could have already fucked you over if they wanted to. So just get over it, everybody. There's certain groups behind the scenes that they looked at everything as a whole. Once they had all this data available, at some point they were like, wow, everybody's doing something. And so they just sort of allowed certain amounts of sin, just because they figured, what the shit are we supposed to do? Go after every single one of these people? They have so many others that are tied to them that, one of these people falls, then a whole group of others that had nothing to do with it falls, and not wanting to be responsible for that in a broader sense. And so I totally understand that. I respect it. And I have a similar set of values. So let me explain to you folks my value system and the value systems of those who have historically helped me from the sidelines. Look, none of us are going to engage in anything illegal to help you facilitate what you're doing, number one. So don't try to use us to do it. You understand? So what I'm explaining to you is that no, you will not be experiencing any type of people coming after you for things that don't involve what I just mentioned. As long as you're not doing things involving human trafficking, and child pornography. Sorry, I'm just going to say HTCTCP so I don't have to keep saying the words, guys, because it's ugly and I hate freaking going there. But I'm just letting you guys know, provided you're not doing things within that realm, then you don't have any reasons to be concerned about anything that would be investigated by people that help me out. That's all, because they don't care. And they're not being, look, they're already taking on certain amounts of risk because they're not really compensated much for what they do. They're mostly self-funded. And so they have some degree of things that they do on the sidelines to make themselves whatever, and that they do things to help others on the sidelines. And then they inform people who care that are internal within these agencies and military organizations. And so it's a little bit like nobody could really be doing a whole lot of things officially. So people do the best that they can to provide resources when it's necessary, however it's necessary, when possible. And I've gotten accustomed to this, even though I don't like it. And I've told people, look, guys, I know people are doing pretty good after these last few swoops of whatever good fortune that all kinds of people had in the country that normally wouldn't have received it. So can we all get a little bit real here? And so it was a little bit said to me that, well, look, it might be easier to get things to you if your network wasn't being lagged, because now I don't want to talk about where I'm at, but I'm experiencing a very similar issue informationally to my cell phone network that I was while I was in the Las Vegas area. And I'm going to give you a good detail of this hack on a whiteboard, so I'm not just going blah, 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 I have a problem. This way, guys, I can actually articulate it properly for those who actually have access to these higher level wireless networks, ones that actually can do something. And then here's what my hope is, folks, is that you'll get that I'm a good quality partner on the surface, that, maybe you can start to un-F my whole universe a little bit more openly so that I can proceed to have a normal life like the rest of you are enjoying right now. I think I've had enough time in the trenches. I'm just asking for some freaking relief here because, whatever it is, guys, to reach out with the right kind of opportunity so that I'm in an environment where it's not of risk to you and excessively, but I can also earn a good living and everything like that, because I just want to get on with things. I'm tired of this shit, be honest with you, but I also understand that it doesn't disappear overnight. So I'm doing this in aid of getting it to end quicker, okay? And I was encouraged to do this by some folks on the sidelines too, because look, there's only so much that I can ask certain people. So this is kind of like when I do these presentations, it kind of sets out kind of a rally call for a larger group of people that, hey folks, what are we going to do collectively together? What would you like to see for our future? Because, I think guys like me doing things with you is pretty appealing. And I'm going to explain to you why. because I can actually help you have fun while you do all of this, as much as it wants to seem like it's not that way. I can actually make it quite a bit of fun, but we have to have the resources. What makes it not fun is not having the resources and not having the right amount of partnership and awareness and resources that it takes to make that all a reality. And so what would that be? What would all that consist of? Well, I think you understand, those of you who do help, like, you understand what kind of special tools are required. You need the fancy equipment. We need to have a more meaningful partnership where some of us just kind of get together and say, like, hey guys, that guy back in the day, Gabe, let's bring him on board for this project we got, to where we try to work this out with these folks. Whatever it is, guys, we'll find a way to make it work. I don't really give a shit what people think about me, because most of the people that throw criticisms in that direction are shills for the most part. So I don't really care. What I'm trying to say, though, is that what I need right now is for somebody to actually do something more meaningful and direct with me, so that we can solve these problems together. What do they entail? All right. This is where I'm good, and this is why you might want to consider trying to bringing me on sooner in a more meaningful way, because I'm kind of tired, guys, of like having this shit happen to me so that others can kind of go like this. Okay, so I'm gonna whiteboard it to where I want this to be like completely. I want it out of my universe, because I don't want to be thinking about this shit anymore. I don't want anybody close to me to have to think about it, and it's not fair to ask them to. Okay, all right. So is that cool? I'm just asking for that. Look, and I'm not going to just be asking. I'm just telling you, like, this shit needs to stop. And I've given way too much information to the relevant parties that I was supposed to. You guys saw me tell them in front of the Nevada FBI a lot of what I'm going to tell you now. So if that didn't compel them, me just going like this, then let me whiteboard it really quick to give you guys some overviews, kind of how this works a little bit, so that you understand on a deeper level what I'm dealing with here, not wanting to have to deal with either. Okay, this is some bullshit. How do I know about how a lot of this works? All right, look, I don't want to get too deep into it, guys, but in order for a person to receive tips of this nature, it requires, look, we just do things in a way that's a little bit more esoteric and sophisticated, but people like me have to be both capable of what I can do, and I know this may not make endear some folks to my information, but I just have considerable ability that allows me to receive information beyond the normal means. And yes, I also receive information through normal means, in case you wonder if it's all done through the metaphysical and not through the actual physical reality. It's a bridge between the two that does actually exist, and it does actually provide useful information. And I'll explain all that within about an hour to an hour and a half tonight. I'm not going to spend too much time on it. So I'm going to discuss the hack, why I want to talk about the hack really quick, what it involves, how the smartphone hack gets done, what technologies, what brands it involves, things of that nature. Okay, because it's important. What you're dealing with is a pretty sophisticated form of radio hacks. So again, getting into it a little bit, I'm going to discuss the difference between the information system, IS, and IT. So information system, information technology, okay, relative to data and how data is stored, okay? More about the routes that data is stored. When I say routes, I mean purely internet protocol, IP. That would be more consistent with IS and IT type services, whereas air interface hacks are more involving the radios in the cell phone itself or the smartphone device itself. And I'm going to distinguish between what these involve, because look, the air interface is basically how your phone talks to the cell tower, and that's a frequency. It's like, hi, I'm over here on 1,000 megahertz or whatever it is. That's not really one of them, guys. I'm just telling you, like, it'll say, this is my frequency. What frequency are you on? Transmit, receive, transmit, receive. So I'm going to show you all that on the whiteboard in a second here. But the reason why I'm going to get into this kind of detail is not just because I'm going blah, blah, blah. I don't want to do this anymore. But, guys, really, I mean, I think I've been doing this for 5 years at least. Can you give me a chance to have a life? Sorry, guys. I don't want to be dropping F-bombs left and right, because I know I got probably some more people listening than normal that can help with that. And sorry for those of you, I'm a little unconventional. I tend to drop some F-bombs more than average. Sorry about that. I'll do better. I really should be more creative, guys. I can do better. But yeah, sometimes that's how I express myself. But, obviously I can't be doing that over and over again indefinitely. So here's the deal. what I want to have happen here is for us to understand that if all you've been doing is like things that are involving things that don't involve the violation of people's free will, if your crime is a non-violation of others' free will, if you simply were doing drugs, buying and selling guns or things like that, that's between you and the relative agencies, whatever is happening there. Here's the deal, guys. They aren't doing shit about shit anyways. So nobody that helps me cares to report on you anyways. Do you understand that? They don't care. It's not their issue. They don't give a shit about you. All right? Because they're not incentivized to take on that risk. Just helping you understand, guys. That's one of the reasons why I've started to like try to peel back layers of certain lore behind those economies, so that even within those economies, I help people understand, like, don't be as scared of those things as you think you should be. Don't be as scared of those people behind them as you think, or whatever. Now, again, I'm not endorsing these things, guys. I know that's going to offend some people. Like, what do you mean? You're okay in it? No, I'm not. That's why I'm doing this presentation. I'm explaining to you that just because I say I don't have a problem with you doesn't mean you can use my or anybody else's information system, information technology, or air interface routes. All right, this is where you're pissing off people that are close to me and people that help me out historically. See, not everybody has the rights just to start to like say this shit to me and to say that all the people that I was whatever connected to back in the day or whatever, or know from the sidelines that have these types of influences, that they all have to kowtow to everything that you're talking about, because they have to deal with issues too relative to what is being done with the spectrum in their industry. So what does that mean? It means that some of these gangs and cartels are using their spectrum in ways that they would never authorize and endorse. The company, the people within the company have said, no, you can't do this shit. You're not allowed to do these things. But, we're working within a governmental agency system where they just kind of go like, did that happen? I didn't see that. What? It's just like Director Ray with Antifa. It's a little bit like, huh? What? I didn't see that. Guys, it's bizarre, the kind of things that are going on in our country relative to these types of crimes. And so the problem is a little bit, somebody kind of close to me, I think, probably articulated it well. It's a little bit like there's those who kind of understand how far this goes, like that it's kind of involving, in some cases, some pretty high level, deep state government to government type relationships. For example, like corrupt CIA relative to the most corrupt within the Chinese Communist Party having kind of like maybe an unholy alliance, because you've got a lot of paperclip Nazis up in that CIA, just being real with you guys. And there's this tendency for them to establish partnerships with the darker forces within China. And the thing that I tend to believe, folks, and I'm giving this to China and to everybody in America for that matter, this has nothing to do with favoritism in that regard. I'm saying that I have to believe that most people over there don't want to be in a war with America. And I know Americans don't want to be in a war with China, even amongst the biggest hawks who are like saying China did this and that. So let's be really clear here, guys. The CIA has done shit like what we've discussed here, okay, involving what's happened over with CCP, the Wuhan lab type things. If people are within that realm, we have to understand that these types of things tend to be partnerships overall. So again, I'm not trying to explain to you in some level that like it has to be the American CIA plus the CCP that did this type of thing, or that it even is the CCP itself. It all just is worthy of investigation. And I've seen some kind of like threatening kind of shots across the bow, kind of coming from some of those regions over there in China kind of thing, to say that, don't be investigating these technology things too. All right. So that's because I think there are people within those realms that understand that this hack that is in these smartphones that I'm about to explain to you are a key aspect of what has made America exploitable at an information level. And so that when I tell you about things that I'm pissed off about just involving the trafficking aspects and what people are getting away with, I'm also helping you understand that there's people that are like within those dark forces within the CCP that do want to destabilize America. And again, I don't think that's most of them or all of them. I think maybe quite a bit of China would be just happy saying like, look, they're great customers. We won't F with them and they run their country how they want to. And we just hope that they don't F with us and tell us all this humanitarian things. And we just keep producing their cheap things and they keep ignoring how it's made. Let's be real here, guys. I mean, we all have to have like a come to Jesus moment about how do we get our products? How do we receive our information? What pathways? what kind of intuition, what kind of intention is attached to every single device that we're holding. You understand, folks, that you absorb intention when it's inside devices. That's another discussion that I don't want to get too deep into at the moment, but you need to think about this as part of what's happening to structure our larger reality. Stressed, exploited people are oftentimes producing these products, and that fear is embedded within the materials that wind up in the phone that go into these oscillating cycles of frequency. I can talk about this with this audience because you're a little bit more metaphysical than some of the others that might be listening to this. But I need you all to understand too, maybe you don't get it yet if you're new to my material with regards to that. But yeah, you really do have to think about within technology, what is going on within the person that's creating the product. Are they experiencing stress? Are they experiencing fear? Are they experiencing trauma? What are they focused on and thinking about while they're experiencing that stress and fear and trauma? All very relevant when you're having discussions about, the impact of the technology. Less esoteric and more direct are the routes like I'm talking about here. So sorry, folks. You must know that I'm a person that thinks a little bit more metaphysically, so I don't want to eliminate that from the discussion when we're talking about that here, but I want to stay focused on the more tangible reality of the hack. All right, it involves like a smartphone device. So let's see, so I can have an example nearby. All right, so there's my phone. Okay. All right, so you have things called near field communication in the back of these phones. All right, so within the near field communication chip on these devices, you have frequencies that pass for that. One of them is 13.56. So, well, I can put it on the whiteboard and I can also type it out here. But like, you have something called NFC, and that's 13.56 megahertz. So that's just one frequency that passes through. Okay, that's one way that information passes quickly. Like on Apple Pay, it can create like a quick encrypted transaction. Bump, 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 bump. And that's a proximity thing. So the thing that I first discovered, folks, is none of these things would be possible the way that they're happening like in the last few years, unless somebody had a significant exploit or a hack or a backdoor into however the core functionality of NFC near field communication operates at a chip frequency level, at a somehow where they're able to hack that encryption, which I guess, guys, I mean, we all have to just be real here. They can hack SIMs. What is that? All right. It just means to say that if you parking lot your phone, for example, that the SIM can be cloned within these smartphones and then repurposed and placed into another phone that's on a cloud. And that's where I'm going to get into this information up here. All right. Again, guys, the reason I'm doing this is not to catch people that are involved yet. I'm going to give you one more warning. All right. I am not your route for all the rest of it. I do not authorize you using me for the rest of it. You are not allowed. You do not have my consent. I'm making sure you understand that. I'm sick of people thinking that just because I said that, I'm not concerned about you, that you think that it's somehow okay to use me. No, use somebody else's ass. If somebody else is okay with it, that's up to them, not me. Don't be doing the shit to me. And I know the trademarks of it. I know how it works. Remember, in case you forgot, folks, please go to the pinned Twitter post on my Twitter, Gabriel Cruz True. That's the name that I have on Twitter, at Gabriel Cruz True. And you'll find my resume, and you'll look at all of my vast experience within the wireless industry, 20 years. Okay, that means I did radio frequency design. I actually designed the cell towers, and I did all the deep dive database optimization called system performance. I spent about 2/3 of my career within system performance groups, which is really like it really is like the upper echelon of the engineering groups within the wireless industry. They're the ones that handle pretty much all of the complicated issues within the network. They make sure that calls don't get dropped. Effectively, there's like the guys that say, can you hear me now? It's a little bit kind of like that and then beyond. Always testing it, always optimizing it, always going through the databases, making sure the smartphones, radios are provisioned right. So you learn about all the core pieces of the hardware at a deep level. So I need people that are close to me to understand, like, if I seem like overly dedicated to this, it's because, do you know how few people have my level of understanding and why I feel obligated? Because I know the reality of what's behind it, and it bothers me, and I don't want it to. And that's why I'm asking if I explain it at a deeper level, so people just give me some relief from this, and I can be comfortable in knowing that I have, an income, and that I have some relief in knowing that people are doing something about the other aspects of it involving HT, CT, and CP, because that's what keeps me up. That's what makes me hurt. And it's hard for me to walk away from these issues knowing that it still happens. I can't save the world, guys. I get it. But I need to have, I need to know in a more meaningful way that you're making progress and that you're going to support what I'm doing, especially after I give you this information the way I'm going to tonight. Respectfully. I deserve it. Spent a lot of time, effectively being tormented to get this information. And so I don't let go easily, in case that's, whatever. It cost me a lot, personally. And I had to bear witness to things that were horrible. And it's hard to walk away from, because the reality of it. You've seen it. And so please don't use that against me, and don't use that don't use that against me, like, to keep me from because I care this much. You can't keep putting me in these cycles, especially when you don't really compensate me. You get me out of some serious situations, and you have others help me, and I really appreciate that. But I need to be away from this for a while, and knowing that it's being dealt with. Or if you want my consulting services, and I ask you respectfully to please put me on a payroll, so I at least know that if I'm putting myself through this, that I have a time through which I say I'm committing these many hours per day to it. Then I walk away from it, and I don't think about it, and I don't discuss it. Because otherwise I don't, you have to understand where there's limits that people have within reason. All right. So I don't want to keep talking about that part. I just need you to understand it. All right. All right. So let's talk about when you have a phone call. Hopefully you can see that tower. Okay. Actually, let's be real. It's more of a device anymore, right? Okay, mobile device. Sound good? All right. This link here is called Air Interface. All right. So I'm trying to distinguish the difference between Air Interface versus how your data routes. Yeah. So, like, if you're going to get an IP address to your cell phone device, how does that work? Well, the minute you power your phone up, you've got to make a link to what?
You got to run a frequency between your phone to the tower. All right. So that was my job, just to help you guys understand. Everything within this realm here was my entire life from 1994 till I retired from the industry in 2015. I effectively went on an extended sabbatical, aka retirement, because I didn't really think that I was ever going to go back. Now, guys, you know, if we can find a way, because we all have to have a way to communicate that's in harmony with nature and human physiology. Those of you who want to have a discussion about how to make that work, then, you know, I'll help you. I need you to understand that after I've researched some of this technology relative to human brainwave, that I'm not entirely comfortable with the air interface aspect. But also, let me tell you something. I have the same opinion about this as I do. Like, I built cell towers, so even though I disagree with the way that it's transmitting frequencies now, I don't wish ill will upon those from the past. I would really just like to appeal to your heart to tell you that there is something relative to human energy that it has an impact on, that we have to have a more meaningful discussion about. And in the meantime, what I hope would compel you to talk to me at a deeper level are your air interface hacks that I can explain are using the radio interface on those cell towers in an illegal fashion, rather to say they're repurposing frequencies that are oftentimes not deployed on the cell towers. I know people are saying, why would you have a frequency that's not deployed? It happens all the time. I know, I was an engineer, guys. So there's all kinds of situations where, especially in rural communities, where you may have tons of bandwidth available to you, but nobody needs it. So there's no need to transmit it. So yeah, you might, you know, have 7 bands available to you within your frequency sets, all of which could transmit, you know, tons and tons of high speed data. But if there's only maybe, you know, 50 people in the town at the same time at once, and they use a fraction of what the middle of a city would use, then you may never even see, you know, the most minimal amounts of data usage in that area. So there'd be no need to transmit all those frequencies simultaneously. So this is where a lot of the air interface hack comes in, because, all right. So before we talk about that part, all right, let's talk about, that's airwaves, okay? So you go phone to there. So when you go from here to there, say, for example, it's 850 megahertz. That's the original cell phone technology that I started out using, right? That was analog mobile phone service. You had A band and B band. That was it. Some people called it wireline, non-wireline. All right. So this was basically, the 850 megahertz band is what we started with, and then we went to 1900 megahertz called personal communications services or system. I can't remember which it stands for. And then you have which is shortened to PCS, okay? And then you basically have after that, mostly what started to get deployed was within the 3G was the what do you want to call it? 700 megahertz is what they started off with, and those frequencies started to get deployed more broadly. I'll put these all up here, actually. Let me just put that up here. So you have 850 megahertz. You had 1900 or 1.9 gig. You have 700 megahertz. This is mostly LTE, not exclusively. This is PCS, not exclusively. This was cellular, A, B. And all of these PCS also, wait, hang on. Okay. That helps a little bit, okay. Here we go. Okay, and then you've got 1700, 2100, respectively 1.7, 2.1 gig. Okay, and this one is really important. This one's called AWS. All right. critical part of this hack is this 1700, 2100 megahertz. Man, I swear to God. I am not having luck with the light here. Okay. So 1700 to, hang on, that's really sloppy. There we go. Make it a little more legible. There we go. Okay. That's called AWS for Advanced Wireless Service. All right. So I'm just kind of giving you guys like an overview of like what most of the early bands are. Now that we've transitioned into 5G, oh my God, now you've got like 600 megahertz out there. I don't even want to go there yet. But yeah, okay, fine. I mean, I will, guys, but then you get, this was basically 1G, 2G mostly. This I would say would be 2G, 3G mostly. This was almost entirely 4G, but you might have seen some 3G on it, maybe. But I'd say most of this was 4G. And then this has been 4G advanced. Okay, so you can probably read all that. So again, I'm just kind of showing you how the frequency bands were kind of released, but they're not exclusively used for that, folks. Any company can use this bandwidth however the hell they want to. So if a company starts off using 850 megahertz for all of their voice calls and everything, they're not stuck using it for that. They can use it for data. They can use it for advanced LTE or even 5G type things if they felt like it. It all depends on the carrier and what they plan on doing. But I'm just showing you like most of the companies I've worked for, it basically broke down something like this. Then you've got some like 2.5 gigahertz that's out there that like Sprint I know had and some other companies had. That was on one of my contracts. I can't remember what that frequency spectrum is called exactly. But anyways, these are kind of the most commonly ones, though, that I've dealt with that were with the major carriers. And I did work for companies like Verizon. I worked for US Cellular, is a rural carrier that I worked for that had a lot of the same bands that they shared with Verizon. And then I also did a lot of work on Sprint's network, even though I was working for other companies when I was at most of these places. Like, I was contracted to do things on their networks. Okay. So in some cases, I was like effectively an engineer there if I wasn't actually employed at the company. All right. So that's air interface, right? Right there. But then once you have those frequencies, what's really going on, right? Well, what I've learned, guys, is that those frequencies are not used everywhere in every network. I already knew that based on my wireless industry experience. So, so what seems to be going on with these hacks is that users are like aware of what the available bandwidth are. They can just run through, either they're getting insider tips that these frequencies aren't deployed and they can be messed with or redeployed in certain regions, or they're just doing like a sweep using a spectrum analyzer. But my guess is they have to have somebody giving them some degree of help. I mean, guys, you can't do what these people are doing without some insiders someplace. I mean, and it's pretty sophisticated what's going on here. So let's get deep into that part. You have to remember a key aspect of what they do seems to involve AWS hacks. Why do they like AWS? Okay, let's talk about that deeper here. AWS also equals, okay, equals advanced wireless service. Okay, that is this, what I just described to you, okay? But then it also involves another AWS. This is the data portion. So this is air interface, airwaves, or air interface AWS is more of a IS, IT, server, data, storage. Okay, this is Amazon Web Services. Starting to get it. All right. Now, the other portion of that is, so IT, I guess IS, it's a crossover into the next Oz. All right. So hopefully that's all making a little bit more sense. So you've got Oz as advanced wireless services, airwaves, air interface. You have Oz as Amazon Web Services. Then you have Oz as an OS, operating system. What do? They all keep us in what? Oz. All right. Now, this is why I love having a whiteboard. Thank you, whiteboard provider. I appreciate you very much. Sponsor. You're awesome. All right. Hang on really quick. Hang on really quick, guys. Welcome back. Sorry. Got any other requests? I can do some other. Actually, I'll do another karaoke song tonight. I'll do a better one than that. All right. Here's where I talked about it in more detail in these two stories, and I'll be right back. Repurposing of language more lately. So everybody, I've been getting asked about repurposing of language more lately. So I wanted to give you a quick lesson involving the word Oz, repurposed to AWS, and also to have multiple definitions that all fit a technical concept, but are actually referencing something else. For example, so the word Oz, okay, most are familiar with it from the movie Wizard of Oz, for example, right? Frank Baum wrote a book called The Wizard of Oz. They made a film about it, legendary book series, everything, right? Okay, so you know about that. Well, AWS is also used and sounds like the word Oz. It's being used in a couple different connotations, but let's get into some other things that use AZ, OS, and AWS, which all sounds like Oz. Okay, well, AWS can mean it could mean Amazon Web Services, AWS. That's their cloud computing platform. It could be an FCC band of frequencies called AWS, called Advanced Wireless Service, that runs in the gigahertz, 1.7, 2.1 gigahertz range, amongst other frequencies, I believe. Okay, well, there's also, sorry, I have notes because I keep forgetting. Oz is also operating system. OS also forms the word Oz. Get it?
We also had an OSS, I believe it was Naval Intelligence. It was a precursor to the CIA in the United States. Oz. All these form the word Oz, and there is a link to all of these things. There really is. Australia is oftentimes called the land of Oz. Why? Australia. Oz, A-U-S, Oz. This is repurposing of language 101, and the word Oz is going to help you understand this way, way better if you start looking into the terms I'm going to leave inside the description. Okay? This is done heavily. And Australia would be a series of, you're being Ozed. It's a trail. Okay, an Oz trail. Get it? If you're being surrounded by vehicles that have AWS cloud computing servers that are operating on a Jeff Bezos, get it? Bezos. Okay. Well, a Bez is a BlackBerry Enterprise server, and Oz is also an operating system. He runs AWS, Amazon Web Service. Sometimes they're using frequencies in the AWS band, which is Advanced Wireless Service. I know I'm kind of going in circles, but do you understand repurposing yet? Is this helping? I hope it helps. Because it's important. What I just told you. Remember I told you how a lot of CEOs are just puppets? Sometimes their names are just kind of made up to fit other things, to anchor, or somebody selected purely because of their name. It could be the organic name, but that was why they were selected. Oz, AWS, Amazon Web Services, Advanced Wireless Service if it's the FCC. If it's a movie or a book, it's OZ for The Land of Oz by Frank Baum. And if it's Amazon, it also can mean a BlackBerry Enterprise server operating system, a Bez-Oz. You're welcome. Oz 101.
But if you think he was born Jeff Bezos, don't stop believing. Oceanfront property in Arizona. Got some to sell ya. All right, let's do one more on this code.
Hey, everybody. So, I've been encouraged to do some things involving ciphers and codes as a way to just basically kind of section off certain material for one audience and another for another. So I'll just kind of do like codes and ciphers maybe as a title going forward. And that way, like if it's not your thing, then you just know to skip past it and move on to something else, okay? So I'm going to categorize this as ciphers and codes relevant to the larger program. So I'm not trying to be cryptic. I'm simply going to categorize these things just so that, because I don't have time to give an education and everything in a short clip. So I just need to like release information as needed to the people that it matters to. I've talked about this before, but Amazon, all right, code, Oddfellow ciphers, Rebecca order ciphers, okay? These are two mystic societies, very similar to Masons and things like that, except they've existed in the United States for a very long time. They're responsible for a lot of infrastructure. What does that mean? That means like the Oddfellows were people that did odd jobs, things that other people don't like to do. They ran plumbing, they did electricity, they did, things that are dangerous or dirty, garbage, things like that, sanitation, janitors, things of that nature. They're the Oddfellows. They're willing to do jobs that others are not willing to do, but they have a reason why. Okay, so not all Oddfellows do this, so don't all start flooding my website with a bunch of whatever, because I'm not going to bother listening. Just saying, dude, figure it out, guys. I'm not drawing any, I'm not casting aspersions across any entire group. That's the last thing that you'll find me doing. I don't do that. There's nearly every group I'm willing to say that there's always going to be pockets of decent people. I've seen it many times over, so I know to look out for it. All right, so getting to that, back in the day, codes and ciphers were used by those groups just to communicate their secrets, just to say, like, if there was a person in town that was kind of a jerk, they had these kind of ways of saying, hey, let's get rid of this one, but we're not going to be overt about it. And it involves a lot of the things that you see in the program, color coding, sending you subtle messages that you're no longer wanted, that you're not liked. But they do it industrial scale now, but that's a whole nother topic. But getting into that, so back in the day, these were systems of basically, like, if there was like a guy that used, like, is just, like a bully or something like that, it's a way for the people that don't have the same kind of physical strength to sort of say, hey, you can't do that to us. So just develop mechanisms, tried and tested, true ways of just communicating things between each other and whatever, right? And so that you can see how the phone system kind of got integrated into that, because where else do you learn about everything, and what other subtle way of sending people messages could you know what I'm saying, besides getting control over phone systems? So stop thinking about now and think way back decades into the inception of our telephone lines. Who was digging those trenches? Who was establishing all those fiber optic lines? A lot of them were Oddfellows. A lot of them were Rebecca's. Okay. Just like the Freemasons tend to handle, like, not all of them, by the way, but like they're more into architecture. They're more into what's above ground, maintaining things above ground. But things that are below ground were generally considered, whatever, for Oddfellows. But these jurisdictions started getting crossed more and more over time, and one group starts blending into the other, and it's, again, Oddfellows and Rebecca's. Actually, at one time, there used to be more of them than Freemasons in the United States. Now you find more Freemasons than you do Oddfellows and Rebecca's, which says to me that probably a lot of the things that are going on is just infiltration and people joining both groups. At one time, guys, that was kind of encouraged, and then it was discouraged, and you need to look into it on your own. I don't want to get into it because I've already gone in 4 minutes now, and I haven't even talked about the code. All right, the code. I need to give you the background, though, because of electronics and fiber optics and trenching, okay, because the odd jobs, odd fellows, okay. So going back, it was like plumbing, electricity, things like that. So what are the modern forms of these things today? Well, we still have plumbing and electricity, obviously, but now we have wireless networks, we have data networks, we have all these different things that are the domain of other people. So when you integrate the breeding aspect of everything too, now you're kind of getting into the whole thing about, like, how are the control mechanisms for the Ozd kin? Like, how do you keep them in this suspended state of reality that we've been talking about so much? Well, it's music, rhythms that everybody responds to. People that study these things like wizards, okay? They study rhythms and harmonics, whatever makes your brain entrained to something. So you know how some songs just have a beat that you just can't stop? Yeah. Even if you hate the song, for some reason you find yourself singing along to it. That's this thing. So they just learned how to use music, rhythm, acting, films, television shows to suspend this kin, for them to be in this suspended state of reality. It just kind of like keeps the Oz kin system going, the kids that are raised for organs. Okay. But you can see how at some point in time, as technology evolves, and there's a whole bunch of these kids that are being raised for like over 40 years, guys, they're being brought into maturity for organs. Because you can't give a child's organ to an adult. You can't give a 5-year-old's heart to a 50-year-old man. Okay? Starting to understand this, why these systems were designed. Why at some point in time we had an awareness in this country like, whoa, this is wrong. This can't happen. Okay, some people don't feel that way. So they're creating all these systems to hide what they did, instead of just saying, you know what, that was wrong. We know that was wrong. We're going to let these kids live a free life and everything else like that, But they just kept it going. Some people just really want to see this system kept going, and they have all the infrastructure in place to do it. All right, so Amazon. Okay, what does Amazon say that they do? Well, they're everything A through Z, right? They have the smile that goes A to Z. Okay, A to Z is letters of the alphabet. A-Z, Oz. How many letters are in the alphabet? 26. Z is the 26th letter of the alphabet. Okay, this is all being used. Is Jeff Bezos a real person? Well, yeah. I mean, he walks around amongst everybody, but he's actually running a Bez-Oz, a server system. Bez, B-E-S-B-E-Z. They're kind of the same thing. Because see what the cipher is Bez-Oz. Again, it might be a real name, but not when it's used by these people. BEZ is the BEZ server. OS is an operating system. When you cross the S and the Z, you get BlackBerry Enterprise server, and you get Oz, like Wizard of Oz, like the electronic system that controls all of your shipping of your items in and out, and your informational awareness, placing you in Oz. I'll remind you, Amazon has a contract with the CIA that's over $600 million. Very worth noting, very worth looking into. All right, guys. So yeah, is the CCP doing something? Sure, but who knows about it? Who's letting it happen? So guys, I'm not blaming China exclusively. I'm just telling you, man, the shit that's happening, there's insiders at corporations. There's, this wouldn't be happening, folks, without some degree of insiders facilitating it. So what I've revealed is effectively that, there's cloud computing. There's places where people's iPhone images are stored on a cloud server. So all the codes are used for the people that do it, that are more in the criminal class. And so I've just sort of tapped in to their universe and figured out what they talk about and what they do. You can take it or leave it. If you leave it, you're kind of just like committing a crime by ignoring the evidence that exists out there, because there's all kinds of people out there that want you to know about this. And well, shit, you've seen the kind of luck I had at the FBI. So folks, this is the best way I can do it, is to kind of give you an idea of like the larger mafia organizations that kind of do it while they go, who, me? I'm just cooking potato salad. It doesn't work that way. Like, I'm telling you, like the way that this goes is like, it's so amazing the way that they kind of like conceal the way that they're going about doing it using technology. And it's really kind of sinister. Okay. Yeah, sorry guys, it's the best thing that I can do here. Okay, so I don't really have a better option, and I kind of have to, my recommendation, folks, is that if you don't have an app that can play these things on a television, then find a way to play this on a television, on AirPlay or some form, whether it's on Apple TV type of thing or whatever. If you can do some type of air streaming to using Wi-Fi and project it onto a television, that's the best way to view my presentations, especially when I'm whiteboarding, because I can't really do much to help with that. The best, really, guys, like before, my challenge was that I just didn't even have. Look, I'll take away the video, that way that'll help. But as far as like this part goes, I can't really do much to mitigate that. Okay, that's just the way things are. I mean, in the best of environments that I would have, until I get some type of camera rig that can zoom in and out, which I don't have on this laptop, then no, this is the best I can do. I do appreciate the feedback, though. I'm not insulted by that. I just can't really improve upon it much. And believe me, I would like to. Again, if folks want me to improve upon it, that's where we really need to get me into a salaried position where you can like bring me into a nice, clean office. And hey, I won't drop F-bombs all day long. I'll show up on time and I'll actually be civil to people. I did it for many, many decades. I did it for a very long time. So you don't have to worry about that, guys. I know how to conduct myself. But the reality here, folks, is that, it basically, so let's get deeper into the Cobb ham aspect of it, because you kind of need to understand that part. And hang on really quick. So what I'm going to do is, those are the main components of the hack. And I'm going to look up Cobb ham and then I'll walk you through the rest. I've done a whole presentation on it. I don't really like to rehash things that I've done on video already. But I'm going to, for the sake of just getting this shit done. But again, guys, I would really say that folks that want to really defeat this problem, the best thing you can do now is stop trying to use me as some freaking smartphone bait car that everybody perceives as like never getting any help, because it doesn't really benefit me much, and that I don't like. And not that I'm selfish or anything like that, guys. It's just that I have bigger responsibilities and I have to attend to them. So I need you to start like being more meaningful with the way you try to interact with me in a more direct way, because it's just not serving any larger purpose anymore the way that it did. Doesn't help me any, that's for sure. And I don't like that. And so what I'd like to do is just express how this hack works on a deeper level here. So, to the best of my ability, with, you know, what I got here. Hang on really quick. All right. So what does this all amount to when I get into this whole thing with Amazon, OS, Oz, and then the AWS $600 million contract with the CIA? Well, that's kind of relevant, guys, because it says to me that if you really know how our information is routed, so like none of these IPIS addresses are available to these servers to begin with, unless somebody gives them a pool of numbers to use from a larger pool. And where does that all lead back to? That's where you have to go into my research, which I'll show you here. Hang on. Really at the crux of what's going on here, folks, within America, you'll find in these articles that I have under this one right here. These articles right here are what you want. And I'm going to give you this list here. Hopefully that works for you. But in these articles, I basically give you the whole rundown, and you know, I can whiteboard it too, but that would take a lot more time than I allocated for this evening. So, but the information is in these reports where I get deeper into, once you get behind Amazon and all the other things that I just mentioned to you, the air interface aspects of it, where does all of these addresses get stored centrally, who managed them since their inception, and who might have tabs into them today to reroute traffic. And this is where you always get back to the same couple companies. Science Applications International Corporation, who's now spun off to Leidos, and Dynetics also was another one of their spinoff companies. And then so they have an enormous amount of information technology, information systems control within America. That's why this whole thing boggles my mind. Like, if there's one company that should absolutely be able to do something about it, should already have awareness about it, and should already be helping America defeat it, would be SAIC, would be Leidos, except it seems almost like the opposite is happening. So that's the part that I don't understand. I have to make constant appeals to people to say, why would this be happening? Why doesn't there seem to be a much larger effort to defeat this hack that does exist? Or are you just going to pretend that it doesn't exist? Okay, you know, again. Is it one of those things where just too many people benefit from the laundering, you know? They forget that the end cost in that is our country, our sovereignty, and our freedom. That these temporary payments that they're taking is ultimately going to cost America its sovereignty, because so many people got greedy or were afraid of being ratted out, or afraid of being revealed by something that they may or may not have even done. They're just scared of people talking shit about them. Just the threat of it is enough to cause most people a chill. You know? So that's kind of what we've got going on right now. So I'm going to show you some quick slides here. It's already in another one of my presentations that you can see. I had it up for a long time. But this is basically the system. It's called a COBHAM, and it can be deployed without the cooperation of the network provider, which is why I think it's the chosen exploit of these mafias and these groups that are similar to the Antifa, not protesters, but the ones that actually kind of create riots and destabilization events, so they can set up these COBHAM networks that are basically mobile ISIT, you know, getting back to what's here, right? It basically makes it to where they can create a link. So let me explain to you what they do with this. See this right here? So what this thing, sorry, let me get these the text off the screen. All right. So what this is doing effectively, this link between the phone. All right, say this is you. You're the patsy. You're trying to get a signal from your phone. You're trying to get a phone out from here to the cell tower. All right. What they do is they run a cob ham. Sorry, that's a really thin marker. Let me get something wider. Hang on, I know I got another color here this thick. Well, I did. Strange, it just up and disappeared on me. There it is, I got it, all right. So when the phone tries to go out, it winds up on phone number 1. This sort of like jams it, but it creates a loop. So the way the loop operates would be to like, it'll steal your phone signal. Let's do this over again. So you're here trying to get out. It can work a couple different ways. They can either completely jam you and make it all go into their network. So it would go from your phone here, 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 then to there. Or they can create a different situation where it'll go from here to the phone, to the phone, to the phone, to the phone, back to you. Then you move it on to the network, which pushes data back and forth. Now, I know what you're saying. What the hell would that be useful for? False attribution of data. Your phone has an IP, Internet Protocol. That's an address that's assigned to your phone. So the function of this, it's a little bit like getting mail at your house without you knowing it. It'd be like if a cocaine dealer was trying to set you up to be like, look like you're doing it. They would ship it to your, like their grandma's house or something like that to make it like, you know, oh yeah, man. Hey, she won't know the difference, man. We'll just have it sent to my granny's house, man. She's stupid. I'll just act like I'm taking care of her. That kind of crap. Except this is with information. Same method though. You have to think about it the same way. She's stuck static with her mailing address. So these guys don't want to even risk that somebody in the mailing service will ever say that they're the ones that are cocaine dealers. And they know that if somebody looks at it, they're going to go, well, obviously somebody set this old lady up. She wouldn't do this probably. So again, it's another one of those things where there's less suspicion on the old lady to begin with, or whoever it is as an elderly person, and then they can have it shipped there, right? So that's like an old school way of spoofing an address. But see, since now things are done increasingly to where like a drone will drop it off to a specific GPS location. Then it's, well, how did this person get paid? Well, bills are traceable. They have all those little tiny like serial numbers in them. How are you going to get away with even getting a cash payment anymore? These people don't want cash. They want untraceable monetary value of something to be pressed, you know, electronically back and forth. Now you're getting into cryptocurrency economies, which is why a lot of this is happening. Because what this whole thing is designed to do is create basically a money laundering setup for the person to where these users have cryptocurrency transactions that they want to put out on the internet, but they don't want it going on their IP address that goes directly to the tower. So they get close to their target, the patsy, they push them by jamming their signal. So they take you off of whatever signal you're on and onto a repurposed stolen signal that only they're using, that your cell phone network isn't even using. And they put you into this loop really fast. They push the data from their phone to your phone. You're now carrying the payload of their activities encrypted. It goes out over the tower on your IP address and not theirs. You understand how this works? This Y meshes to you. You get jammed by the signals from one or two phones. They hive together, and they can hive into others that are doing the same thing using these same technologies. Companies like I was showing you a second ago, Cobham. So it can be deployed without the cooperation of the network provider. So now you're getting into like how they actually do it. Hang on. So they're kind of showing you like the differences between active intercepts, passive intercepts. So some require can operate independent to a network provider, must be connected to network. See the difference? Cobham is actually telling people you can do this without asking for permission. So you think that the cartels and gangs didn't figure this out? You think they're not using it? Of course they are. You just have a lack of will for anybody to do anything about it. Unfortunate, isn't it? That we exist in a country where we rely this much on safety of transmission of information, but I have a hard time finding partners that are willing to compensate me. Weird, huh? All right. Almost seems like I'm having to work my way out of this hack to get those kind of job offers, doesn't it? Real network cells. All GSM phones constantly monitor the neighboring cell's phone is looking for best signal. I'll remind you guys, this is a very old presentation from 2009. A lot of these technologies are no longer in use. However, the techniques that can be done, it's not radically different when you're dealing with LTE networks and things like that. So I'm just being real with you here. Yeah, this is something you can go to Cobham's website and they'll still put on their own website, even though it's an old presentation. So however it works relative to LTE and other types of newer forms of technology is probably not radically different is all I'm saying. The effective range is the point at which real network signal is greater than that of the active system. All right, guys, getting back to what I was just showing you here. So the whole point of what they're saying is like relative from the tower to those closest to you. So you're obviously going to be usually in most cases, right? You're going to be like probably like about half a mile or whatever from the tower. Sometimes you're closer, sometimes you're right next to it. But see, the point of what they're telling you here is all you have to do is surround the user with 3 or 4 users on, like, I think 3 is what they suggest. You just have to have 3 people on these cell phones that get close to the cell phone device of the Patsy or the Mule IP address, which is you and your device if you're a part of this is happening to you. And then their activities involving Bitcoin transactions, HTC, TCP, whether it's gun running, drug running, or more disgusting things that I don't endorse at all. The point is that these people do not want it going out over their cell phones. They do not want it going out over their own networks at home. They don't want these Bitcoin transactions being applied to their IP address. And tons of people are money laundering right now with cryptocurrency and don't want this to be seen. Good people, decent people, they just don't really understand how their encryption works, that there's a greater human intelligence element that makes it a reality. See, people really like to act like it's like numbers in voodoo every time, and it really just isn't, guys. Any more than BlackBerry isn't entirely encryption numbers and that kind of thing either.
A lot of it is the routing of it. It's the private routing of it relative to where it leads back to, guys. Like, how are they able to achieve the encryption? Well, a lot of people who understand BlackBerry, it's RIM. So BlackBerry is also called RIM, aka Research in Motion. Okay, and then RIM designed the BlackBerry phone. So BlackBerry is what most of the government had to use and still does use quite frequently because of their encryption. Now, what a lot of people don't know is at some point in time, to make these phones work, you had to get what's called a good for BlackBerry. All right, and I have slides about this, and I go over this in my Energetics Part 2 material, that this was basically when your phone, if you had a non-BlackBerry phone like an iPhone or an Android, it gave the capability for you to get your BlackBerry email and BlackBerry services. I think you were able to do both messaging as well as email that was normally only available on a BlackBerry phone. Like, you literally had to have a BlackBerry device tied to your email address, and there was no other way of doing it. But when they put out Good many, many years ago, Good basically was the product that was loaded onto your smartphone as an iPhone or an Android so that you could do all of your cool BlackBerry things on those devices. Prior to then, you were stuck with BlackBerry, and everybody hated BlackBerry at that point. They were like, no, 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 I want a cool new iPhone. Oh my God, Steve Jobs and whoever is amazing. Please, please give me one. You know, I don't know when he died. I'm sorry, guys. Whatever. Whoever was the guy, Tim Cook, whoever was like, you know, in charge. But the point is that everybody wanted to have an iPhone at that point. If you guys remember, like, Obama made a big deal out of it. He wanted to carry an iPhone. So in order to make that work, they had to merge a whole bunch of these systems over to Good for BlackBerry, and then people could put other devices aside from a BlackBerry onto those servers. Why is the server relevant? Because that email is not stored entirely on the phone. The phone is temporarily stored, and then it has to make a link back to the BlackBerry server, and that's all done how? Well, that's done first. If you have a BlackBerry service, you have to get a link to the radio. Now the tower then has a route that it goes back to where? Well, this is where it all gets sticky, guys. This is where you don't really know what's going on with all the cell phones because there's so many different air interface hacks. And that's why if you want me to really go deep into this, yeah, we have to sit down and have a larger discussion. But let's just say that the rest of it, and I'm going to get deeper into it. I'm not done here, guys, but it ties more into what you've seen lately reporting about the Chinese underground banks, how they're paying people via the Chinese gambling sites, and that they have a way to like make people hit jackpots on those sites. And then they either get paid off in yuan or Bitcoin, because some of them are like, even they're run over there, but the payouts are in cryptocurrency. And so it kind of gives, like, if they understand like how information's transmitted, you can see how people, just based on a doped IP route, it would guarantee certain people good fortune. You understand where I'm going with this? So that doesn't look like the person's getting paid by the CCP or some external foreign entity. It just looks like a person that happened to go to some other country's gambling website and hit a really good jackpot. Oh no, I got all of this Bitcoin from a Chinese gambling website. What am I to do? How am I to launder this amazing amount of money that I was so fortunate to fall into? Except they weren't fortunate to fall into. It was a guaranteed payout. As much as they could have gotten a paycheck from the CCP or whoever is paying them, this is allowed. It is passed through. And guys, once you understand who controls all these routes internally in the United States, it all leads back to just some central companies. Back in 1993, 1994-ish, every internet address... Hang on. All right, hang on. All right, every internet address, basically, back in the 90s, all IP domains, that would be .com, .net, .org, and even more disturbing, .mil.gov. Yeah. All of them, guys. Sky's the limit. You named them. Which dots do you want to talk about? All right. All of them owned by a few central company. A central company. Who was it? Network Solutions, which went to guess who, guys? Who do you suppose bought this massive company that not massive, small company that was managing all of our IP addresses? Who do you think? Oh my, yeah, you got it. SAIC, Science Applications International Corporation, aka SAIC CIAs. It's really not a coincidence, guys. They love those mirrors. They just love the mirrors. They love those mirrors. But yes, SAIC is known, and I could show you slides. They're a black budget. They run black budget psychic research programs. Would you like to see the slide? I'm just going to show you. So that's the company, basically. Once you understand that about them, all right. Anyways, guys, you kind of understand this part here. Stop. Share. So my suggestion is that playlist that I gave you, watch those first 3 articles. And then once you understand that what I'm showing you here is what they're known to be, guys. Science Applications International Corporation is known for black projects contractor, reportedly including psychic warfare. Okay, guys. So look, I get it. We have to have people defend us and everything like that. But, do we really want to have one place that runs all of your phone lines, your internet protocol routes? Because that's really what I'm getting down to here, guys. Yeah, they've got this. But if you watch those first 3 articles that I put there in that playlist, you're going to see all the rest of the things that they're controlling, because they get down to the next form is they purchased a company called Telcordia and iConnective. That's when they got all of the warehousing of phone numbers. So phone numbers plus international like codes, prefixes, call waiting, interconnect. I mean, all kinds of things, guys. So what does this amount to here? What am I telling you here with all of this? It's that when you get down to this place, they always have since the 90s, they get their hands into both Telcordia, iConnective, and Network Solutions. Here, they have dominance over all of our internet. So that affects a smartphone, does it not? Down here, they have control over all the IP address routes. Well, beyond that, they have the pooling of the phone numbers. They have the warehousing of all the services that tie everything together, which is also connected to what? Right. So don't you think it's a little bit weird that Amazon AWS has that $600 million contract with the CIA, but they don't seem to understand anything about how Chinese Communist Party has this exploit into our economy to destabilize our country? Interesting. Weird. Kind of seems almost like somebody's letting it happen, doesn't it? But you don't want to listen? I mean, anybody still on the fence about whether or not Gabe knows what he's talking about here, or what? At what point, guys? I mean, sorry to bitch slap some people here a little bit, man, but dude, really, guys, really, bad terminology. What's wrong with you? Why are you still on the fence? Do I know what I'm talking about or not? So, I don't like waiting. I'm being real with you. I'm trying to be respectful here. This is not cool what you're doing, leaving me to hang. And, letting me, guys, I'm going to keep doing this until
people understand that when they get near me, I understand how this is all working. Now, those of you who still think you can get away with doing this to me, I need you to understand that everything that you think is true about these links that I just explained to you, there's others that monitor my phone. So even though you can put me into this loop over and over again and get me stuck into this stall lag loop of information, there's others that are maybe a long distance away from me, but they are working in tandem with other organizations to fix what's wrong. It's just that they were starting to undo it over in the other area that I was in, and they've kind of figured out what's going on over there, and they kind of have a grasp on that. Here, seems like somebody's, and I'm not getting to where I'm at the moment, but somebody's definitely got the network basically going all over again as far as like the Cobham hack relevant to what I'm talking about. So what I mean to say is that this hack on my phone, this is what's happening. I'm getting this happening to me really aggressively. Now, it wasn't happening, I would say, that badly. Like when I first arrived, I would say that I was getting 1x RTT, and that was pretty consistent, and that it wasn't deviating from that really. I've done nothing to my phone that should change its behavior as far as which network selection it has. I am a native CDMA 1x 3G on the CDMA type of network with the device that I have. That's who I should be defaulting to because that's who I got my service through. And while they have opened up their preferred roaming list, their PRL to other carriers, I'm just letting you guys know that this is anomalous behavior. It should not be doing what it's doing. And what the end result has been is that I have not received anything involving monetary funding since before the 14th. I haven't received anything. So we're going on now. It's June 4th, I guess. Pretty close to here. So what, that's about 3 weeks of receiving no funding, no contributions or anything like that. And I know it should be different because I have assurances that this was not going to happen to me and that things were going to go smoothly when I made this transition. And so I observed, guys, that for like initially, yeah, my phone was behaving the way it should, yet things were a little bit dormant. And again, I just didn't expect a lot of communication at that time because I hadn't been, that active with my communication outbound. So I told people like, I'm going to be offline a little bit because I have a lot going on right now and I'm not going to be posting much. And so that didn't surprise me that I wasn't hearing from a lot of people or that I wasn't getting a lot of the contributions or whatever, like that, like at a normal flow or a normal rate that I normally would. Right. I also reduced the number of the presentations that I've been doing also. So I know that impacts things also, folks. So again, those of you who do contribute, I do appreciate it. But I need folks to know that if you have done anything contribution wise since the middle of May and you like said, hey, how come he didn't answer back or how come he hasn't replied, then please send me an email and please let me know, or you can tell me within this facility or whatever so that I can touch base with you and find out what might be going on. But no, haven't received anything, folks, in case that's been something that you've been trying to contact me about. And I do get a little bit concerned that I've had some of my email traffic inbound throttled considerably since I've been where I'm at. And so again, yeah, look, guys, there's a whole lot that I could be talking about relative to these hacks. Okay. And so, I'm just trying to help folks understand, that on a deeper level there. So, and hang on really quick. Sorry about the delay here. Yeah, guys. I mean, look, the part of the problem here is that you have a lack of will by certain insiders, is my guess, to actually do something about the hack that they kind of are aware exists. So I'm not going to tell you that you're wrong about having intuitions that there's some blame to be put on that side. They could not be doing it without some help from certain insiders. That's true. All right. The other thing too that I would like you, for those who don't take some of the things the way that I get tips seriously, I'm going to show you something really quick. I get tips a lot of different ways, but I really avoid communicating anything that I can't prove outside of the tip. So whether I get it through an email that's in physical, whatever, or I get it through intuitive communication, I don't even talk about it usually in any public forum unless it's something that I feel like can be verified and validated. All right. Oh, here's a good spot. All right. I'm going to detach from this. Hang on really quick. I got to get this. There's a whole playlist that I have here that I want you to see, and I'll get you a link to it. And I want to end on this because I can't play all this material, nor would I be able to because it belongs to somebody else, and I want to get dinged for that. But this is Richard Hall. Interviewing Dan Sherman. On intuitive communication. I think this is a really good interview. I'm putting this up here on the screen really quick because, you know, guys, there's been all these groups that kind of made a lot of the things that I've proven here. I've whiteboarded it. I've shown you the military documentation in ways that pretty much next to nobody does, so that nobody can say that the way I go about doing these things is ridiculous, or, oh, I heard QAnon did that, or doesn't this so-and-so Steinberg guy talk about that? You know what? Yeah, they all did, because they're all mirroring people that actually do these things, and that's the unfortunate part about all that. I mean, a lot of people wasted their time helping people that did nothing for them. Meanwhile, I was here on the sidelines a lot of times struggling to survive with real information, offering my real name, no puzzles, no riddles, no rhymes. I was just sitting here going, hey, all of you people that are into that QAnon shit, you want to come over here and take a look at this? And they'd be like, no, I'm waiting for my next drop. Okay, that's cool. Like, you wait for your drops and everything. You go do that. And that inspired some people to do better, and that's cool. But I'm still wondering, like, even once it seemed to be like, hey, I think we got duped, they're still kind of going like, but some of it's got to be real. Okay, you know, you're right. But how much time are you going to spend in what's unknown versus what you can actually do? And that's what I was asking people over and over again for, like, you know, a good number of years there. It's like, are you going to still wait for these random people that are hiding on the sidelines, whatever? Because look, guys, you could say the same thing in my situation. So again, I don't suggest that anybody do that excessively. Except I know that in my situation, guys, the people that have been helping me from the sidelines are the real deal. And they do want you to know these things, and they want you to be, you know, to get this information on a deeper level. So that's why, you know, like this thing I'm going to show you really fast here. This is the interview. That's the guy, Dan Sherman, Rich Hall. He wrote a whole book on this topic involving intuitive communication and the way that people can adjust brainwave patterns that receive data, can transmit data, affect waveforms. He talks about it very intelligently. He's retired military. I'm pretty sure he's retired. Well, he definitely served. Whether or not he's actually retired, I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure he was when he wrote the book. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to write it. But yeah, he was involved with a lot of these projects, and he learned how to, like, change the waveforms with using brainwave and things like that. And I think it's really worth checking out. So anyways, folks, I really appreciate, you know, something. Yeah, I'm going to end this one tonight because I need to finish up something. So I do appreciate you joining. I would encourage you to check this interview out. If you want to know more about how intuitive communication works, please check out some of those Wizard of Oz articles and the ones from my playlist that I sent earlier. Those will really give you a feel for everything else that's going on. Please contact me if you have more questions. Thank you.